Imagine a ruler so feared and reviled that his name became synonymous with torture and cruelty. Welcome to the dark world of Vlad the Impaler, a 15th century prince who would stop at nothing to maintain power. You might have already heard the rumors, the whispers about this brutal leader, but today, we're going to dive deeper into the life and times of Vlad the Impaler. Born in 1431 in Transylvania, a region in what is now Romania, Vlad's early life was marked by conflict and struggle. His family, the House of Dracula, was a noble one, but they were constantly at odds with their neighbors and the Ottoman Empire, which was expanding its territories at an alarming rate. Vlad's father, Vlad II Dracula, was a member of the Order of the Dragon, a chivalric order dedicated to fighting against the Ottoman Empire. This exposure to the brutal world of medieval warfare had a profound impact on Vlad's worldview. As a young boy, Vlad would have seen his father and other members of the Order of the Dragon returning from battles, their armor battered, their faces grim. He would have heard the stories of the horrors they witnessed, the atrocities committed by the Ottoman Empire. These experiences would shape Vlad's perception of the world, and he would grow up with a deep-seated hatred for his enemies. But Vlad's rise to power was not without its challenges. As a member of the nobility, he was constantly vying for position and influence. He would have had to navigate the complex web of alliances and rivalries that existed among the noble families of Transylvania. It's a delicate dance. One misstep could mean disaster. However, Vlad was a skilled politician, and he knew how to play the game. He formed alliances with other noble families, married well, and worked tirelessly to build his reputation as a strong and capable leader. But it was his military prowess that would ultimately cement his position as a major player in the region. Vlad's rise to power was marked by a series of brutal battles against his enemies. He would stop at nothing to eliminate his foes, using every trick in the book to outmaneuver and outfight them. He was a master of psychological warfare, using fear and intimidation to break the spirits of his enemies. And, of course, he was infamous for his favorite method of execution, impaling his victims on sharp wooden stakes. The rumors of Vlad's brutality were widespread, and they would eventually earn him the nickname Vlad the Impaler. But it's worth noting that the term impaler was not a derogatory one in medieval times. It was a reference to Vlad's preferred method of execution, and it was seen as a testament to his strength and cunning. As we explore the life and times of Vlad the Impaler, you'll begin to see a complex and multifaceted individual emerge. He was a product of his time, shaped by the experiences and influences of his world. But he was also a ruthless leader, willing to do whatever it took to maintain power and protect his people. And that's exactly what we'll be exploring next, the impact of Vlad's rule on the people of Transylvania. How did they react to his brutal methods? Did they see him as a hero or a villain? Let's dive back into the story and find out. But before we do, take a moment to think about what you've learned so far. What do you think motivated Vlad to become the leader he was? Was it a desire for power, or was it something deeper? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. As we move forward, we'll be exploring the darker aspects of Vlad's rule, the atrocities he committed, and the impact they had on the people of Transylvania. It's not a pretty story, but it's one that needs to be told. So, let's get ready to delve into the dark world of Vlad the Impaler. As you continue to explore the dark world of Vlad the Impaler, you're about to enter a period of his reign that would earn him a reputation as one of the most feared leaders in history. As Vlad's power grew, so did his reputation for cruelty. His methods of execution became the stuff of legend, with thousands of people being impaled on wooden stakes, left to rot in the scorching sun. Imagine walking through the streets of a medieval town, seeing rows of wooden stakes driven into the ground, each one bearing a human body. The stench of rotting flesh would fill the air, and the sound of screams would be a constant reminder of Vlad's brutality. This was the reality of living under Vlad's rule, where fear and terror became a way of life. But Vlad's cruelty wasn't limited to his enemies. He was also known to torture and execute his own people, including members of his own family. His rule was marked by a culture of fear and terror, where anyone who crossed him or his family would face the same brutal fate. It's hard to imagine a leader who would turn against his own people, but that's exactly what Vlad did. One of the most surprising aspects of Vlad's rule was his willingness to use torture as a means of getting what he wanted. He would often use his own family members as a warning to others, showing them the brutal treatment they could expect if they disobeyed him. This created a culture of fear, where people would do anything to avoid crossing Vlad or his family. Despite his reputation, Vlad was a shrewd politician who was able to maintain power through a combination of military victories and strategic alliances. He saw himself as a defender of Christianity, and he used this to justify his brutal methods. But it's clear that Vlad's motivations went far beyond just protecting his faith. He was driven by a desire for power and control. As you delve deeper into the world of Vlad the Impaler, you'll begin to see the complexity of his character. He was a leader who was both feared and respected, admired and despised. His methods may have been brutal, but they were also effective in maintaining his power and control. But as you continue to explore his story, you'll also see the human side of Vlad, the side that was driven by a desire for power and control. As you imagine walking through the streets of a medieval town, seeing the wooden stakes and hearing the screams of the tortured, you can't help but wonder, what drove Vlad to become such a ruthless leader? Was he born with a taste for blood, or was it something that he learned over time? The more you learn about Vlad, the more you realize that there's no easy answer. But one thing is certain: Vlad the Impaler's reign of terror would go down in history as one of the most brutal and feared periods of all time. As you continue to explore the story of Vlad the Impaler, you'll see that there's more to his story than just his brutal methods. You'll see a complex character with motivations and desires that are both understandable and terrifying. But for now, let's focus on the reign of terror that defined his rule and the legacy that he left behind. You might think you know Vlad the Impaler, but there's more to this infamous ruler than meets the eye. His legacy is complex and multifaceted, a mix of brutality and heroism that continues to fascinate and horrify people to this day. Let's dive deeper into the story of Vlad, a man who was both brilliant and ruthless. In Romania, Vlad is still celebrated as a national hero, a symbol of resistance against foreign invaders. He's remembered for his clever tactics and bravery in battle, which helped him protect his people from the Ottoman Empire. But there's another side to Vlad's story, one that's often overlooked in the history books. His methods of execution were brutal, to say the least. He was known to impale his enemies on sharp stakes, often in public displays of torture and cruelty. As you learn more about Vlad's rule, you might start to wonder what drove him to become such a ruthless leader. Was it a desire for power, a need to protect his people, or something else entirely? The truth is, we may never know for sure. But one thing's certain: Vlad's impact on Romanian culture cannot be overstated. He's a reminder that even the most brutal leaders can leave a lasting legacy, one that's both celebrated and criticized. Despite the controversy surrounding his rule, Vlad remains a fascinating figure who continues to captivate historians and the public alike. His story serves as a reminder of the dangers of unchecked power and the importance of compassion and empathy. It's a lesson that's just as relevant today as it was during Vlad's time. So what do you think? Was Vlad a hero or a monster? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Do you think his brutal methods were justified, or was he simply a product of his time? Let's keep the conversation going and explore the complexities of Vlad's legacy together.